It's time for another edition of Saturday with Seniors, brought to you by Eisenhower's Tioga County Harley-Davidson, Oldred 15, south of Mansfield. And Eisenhower's buys bikes. Do you have a bike that you'd like to sell? Come on down and let them make you an offer on that. Of course, they sell bikes too, and they do have a nice inventory down there. And if you're looking to add some accessories to your bike or a little extra horsepower, they've got a lot of options down there at Eisenhower's Tioga County Harley-Davidson. Proud to sponsor Saturday with Seniors, and we welcome our guests back for part two. Chuck Bates joins us here on KC 101 for a second part. Now, if you missed the first part last week, it is available on our YouTube channel, along with all the previous episodes of Saturday with Seniors. There's over 40 different people from this area that we've interviewed about growing up around here, and definitely find us on YouTube. You can just search Saturday with Seniors, or go to our website, kc101fm.com, and you'll see a link there. It'll take you right to all our YouTube programs. Chuck Bates joining us again. He was with us last week, and my gosh, I learned so much from him. Born in 1930, outside of Pittsburgh, volunteered to go into the Army when he was 21 years old. That was 72 years ago, and got married shortly after his 3-year service in the Army, and his his parents moved to Wellsboro, and last episode, we ended off right before your first visit to Wellsboro. So let's start things off in around 1954, right? When was your first visit to Wellsboro?
We came here as often as we could because fell in love with Wellsboro immediately. But it turned out that it wasn't until 1969 I was able to move here to work at the hospital. Soldiers and sailors at the time, and I think we came here as often as we could from Pittsburgh area.
That was a long drive then. We didn't have Interstate 80, right, or any of the, it was
no
we didn't have 70-mile-per-hour Interstate 80 to take.
Yeah, we'd come up through Butler and up through the small towns and work our way like through Kane and come on east to Wellsboro.
With the old paper maps, trying to figure out where you were.
I still look at paper maps.
I do too, actually. I love the old maps. I think people today don't know where they are because they just listen to where the thing says to turn.
GPS, turn here, turn there.
You always knew if you were heading east, you knew your direction of travel.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Me, I always knew that too. I could always, if someone said point north, I could immediately point my finger north almost any point at any time during the day. I knew my geographical, but now that's...
Well, you wouldn't get lost that way anyway.
No. No, so you came to Wellsboro. Tell me about your first... You said you fell in love with Wellsboro right from the beginning. What were some of the things you did when you first came to Wellsboro back in the 50s?
I'm sure we went... I remember going out to Hills Creek Lake with the girls. We have four daughters, and... that was one of the highlights.
That was a pretty new park then, and the big trees weren't on the other side. There was a place called the Redwood, a restaurant. I don't know if it was there then.
Yes,
that was there then.
It was there, and at that
you could see the lake from there. I know. I'm saying now there's 80-foot trees blocking your view.
Yeah, that's the selling point gone there.
Yeah.
And then of course we got to the canyon, which was on the Colton. Harrison Lookout.
Leonard Harrison, it wasn't yet as developed as it is now.
Oh, no.
Right?
No, there was a very primitive campsite there just before you got to the lookout area.
Mm-hmm.
And the trains were still running up through the canyon and down at that time. So
that's where the bicycle trail is now, for those that aren't familiar. That was railroad tracks until the early 80s, I believe, is when they picked up those tracks.
Yeah, now it's a railroad trail.
Yep.
So those were the things we did. Just I fell in love with the area because I always had an interest in the outdoors, agriculture, farming.
Was it as much of a tourist town when you were, do you remember, in the 50s then, or was it more of a factory type town with a lot of beautiful stuff around it?
Yes, I would say, let's see, Corning Glass, Dresser, Mergenthaler, but it was beautiful around, but it was a factory city town, I mean. Still had an attraction, it was beautiful.
Yeah, this was before the gas lights. Everybody thinks the gas lights in Wellsboro were from
Yeah.
back when you were born, but no,
Yeah, no.
these gas lights were put in. I don't know exactly what year, but
I don't remember that
I want to say
either.
the 60s or late 50s,
Probably.
somewhere in that time period.
Yes.
And did you some of the stores in town? Did you come into town much? Or do you have early memories of being in town?
Oh yes, I remember being in town, particularly after we moved here. Unless I'm jumping ahead too fast, but
Yeah.
like Jim Clark's Hardware, Jim Clark's Sporting Goods Store. Of course, Dunham's was very active and vital at that time. Trying to think of others. Well,
The ice cream shop on the corner.
Kuda's was there.
Yeah,
That was-
everybody talks about Kuda's.
Yeah, I remember Kuda's, and
There's a candy store right next to where Paxton's Five and Dime was.
yes, that's it was called Mosier's, I think, at
Yeah,
that time.
Mosier's 5 and 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim Paxton's dad had.
Then Jim Paxton
Yep.
ended up with it, I guess.
Yep, we had Jim on this very program talking about what
Yeah.
it was like growing up in a department store in Maine.
I know
Wellsboro.
Jim and like Jim.
Yeah, he is amazing, and
He is.
still he delivers the salads for the church. They do a
Does
fundraiser,
he?
and still this day you look out, and he literally runs or speed
Yeah.
walks to deliver those salads. And Dolores too, wonderful woman. They were two of the first advertisers on the station 28 years ago when I came
Is that
out here,
right?
and they were just so cordial from the beginning. And
Still the same.
yeah,
Still the same people.
I have 100% respect for both
Yes.
of them. Yes.
So we talk about sporting goods store. Of course, Davis's had a sporting goods store as well.
Where AAA Travel is
Yes,
now. Yep.
Right. I used to go in there and
Barry and Terry Davis, the two brothers that I could never tell apart.
yeah,
Were they as much a goofballs back then as they?
probably
They were
Yeah.
always goofing around. First time I went in there, they didn't tell me they were twins, so they would swap off with each other when I wasn't looking.
Well,
And
the dad still was running it at the time when it first started, anyway. But Kuda's, and I talk about Jim Clark's Sporting Goods Store because I have a whole number of Woolworths jackets made in the U.S. incidentally that I bought every end of season.
I remember Clark. I don't remember, but Clark Hardware was on the corner where Stained Glass Reflections was.
Right,
Was this in
exactly,
that
yes.
same? Was the same family when you say Jim Clark? Was that the Clark, or was that where was Jim Clark Sporting Goods?
It was.
Was it right in town?
It's the second place down from. I think it's where the bicycle shop is.
CS Sports is
Yes.
now, which was Country
Yes.
Ski and Sport. Yep.
Yes, and he had the shop there, and of course the hardware, and then
Yeah. There's a pharmacy at one time on the corner across the street from there that had the soda fountain.
there was Bowers and Kench's.
That's the name I couldn't remember. Yeah. But did Kench's have a soda fountain too? Or just Bowers? I know Bowers
I
is
think
famous
it was just
for it.
Bowers. I'm not positive.
They had the whole counter there and
Yeah,
phosphate drinks and all that.
there wasn't a drugstore around. You weren't in a drugstore unless you had a soda fountain.
Yeah, people don't know what that's all about. And then not just a soda fountain. This wasn't just like they made the drinks, phosphate.
Oh yeah.
People now don't know what a
Milkshakes,
yeah, purple cow or brown cow or whatever those are called.
Purple Cow.
And there were the bakery. And do you remember the I always say the name wrong, Bosch Theater, the old wooden theater where CNN is? That was taken down somewhere in that time period, but I don't know
that
when.
was before my time. Yes, at least as far as I remember. I'm pretty sure it wasn't there.
Yeah, but the Wellsboro Diner was there under another
Oh,
name.
yeah.
Stosh, what was the name? I'm trying to remember. The Schambach.
I don't remember the name.
Yep, across the roof. I've seen the old pictures with a different name on it then.
I knew Cummings. That's the one I'm familiar with.
Yep, that was across the street, right? From that one you're talking about, across from the diner on the corner?
The diner.
Yep. Oh, okay, because
Yeah.
the Cummings Hardware was across the street too for a while, but that was, I think that was a little later this
Okay,
time. period.
yes.
I got a lot of stuff. I love history, as you can
Yeah,
tell.
I do too. If I remember it all.
Yeah. That's why I do this show, because I figure we document it, and then if you don't document it now, when are we going to?
Exactly.
And you can read about things, but when you can get firsthand accounts from someone who actually lived it, did it, it's
Yes. if I can add something,
Please.
Gail Largy had a documentary about the Laurel Festival.
Yes, he just showed that at the Dean Center not that long ago. I got
Did
to
you see
it.
that? Yes. 38 to 69, I believe.
Yes.
And that was very interesting.
He's done several different movies along the way.
I've been to anyone I knew of.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and Gail's still around, and it's still just recently even released another movie. I had some voiceover work in it, actually. So
Okay, what one is that? I don't have. Well, I'll have to watch the announcements.
Take the name is slipped my head at the moment, but you can. He's done a lot. Austin Dam did a movie on that too as well.
Yes,
on the history
saw
of that. So came to Wellsboro, and were you working then when you came to town?
When
you permanently moved here.
I had worked at 2 different hospitals, and had the opportunity to work at the Soldiers and Sailors. Cliff Woolsey was the administrator at the time, and so I worked there. Then came
just so I can follow you. Where are we at here, time period wise? About early
1969.
70s. Okay. So 1969, we just landed on the moon. We're about to land on the moon. One or the other. It was the middle of that year that we landed on the moon. And you got your first job at Wellsboro. Okay.
Yes.
Working at the hospital. And what did you do at the hospital?
I was in the business office, mostly the credit office.
Yep. And how'd you enjoy that?
I enjoyed it fine, yes. I liked working there and was there for 15 years, actually.
Wow. My mom worked in the medical office billing, and that would have been back in the 60s. And she had said to me that it was right about that time period that things were starting to change and people were starting to get insurance. She said almost all the customers, at least where I grew up in Massachusetts, paid cash. Or check, for your visit, or was billed or whatever. And things started changing, and billing got more tricky with insurance.
Well,
and then insurance companies really changed the world.
Medicare came into being while I was employed there, and that was
from your end of things, not an easy thing.
No, it changed everything. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, of course, you couldn't do without it.
Yeah,
unless you're on welfare.
I think my grandpa was telling me that when my mom was born, they charged if they got the bill, and it was like $12 a day to be in the hospital, which even adjusted for inflation is
that's
still
next to nothing.
Yeah. And so you worked at the hospital, and what your wife was here with you obviously then too as well. And where were you living at that time? What area?
Thumptown. You know where Thumptown is?
Yes, but I'm going to ask you a question. I've asked a lot of people. I've never actually gotten a complete answer. I've just gotten guesses. Why was it called Thumptown? It's a really unusual name.
I've heard, two versions. One, that there was a blacksmith shop there at one time, which would account for a thump, or there was sort of a bar-type place, and every once in a while they would get into a fight and
thump somebody in the head.
Yeah, I think so. Those are the two things that I'm aware of.
And that's right near where the Yellow Basket shop is, on the way out to the canyon. There used to be across the Yellow Basket shop. There was was that where the bar was? I know there was a building there that isn't there.
I think when we first started coming here, it was still there. I don't think it was being used, but there was nothing there when we moved here then.
Yeah, Thumptown doesn't have a whole, you wouldn't know you were going through a town when you or a village. Was there more buildings besides that, or do you know this?
No.
I didn't know if you talked to any old timers when you lived there that told you what it was like in the 40s or 50s or.
Well, we lived on the Roger Wilson farm, which is on the road towards Stony Fork.
So and that road was a lot smaller road then. So that was a really small road off of a small.
Yes, absolutely.
You would have 5 cars a day go down your road, maybe?
Maybe if it wasn't a lot.
Yep. And then from there, how often did you come? Do you come into town often at this point in your life? And you're out of a car, and life was getting a little more modern for you, obviously.
Well, like I say, I had 4 daughters, and they were in school, so there was a lot of running back and forth for their events and so on. Yes.
Are your daughters still around and are with us?
Have one daughter in the Falls Church area in D.C., one daughter near Watertown, and 2 daughters in Colorado. So they're widespread.
Yep. No. Do you have any family members around this area then? And is your wife still with us?
No, she passed away about a year and a half ago.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yes. Yeah, we were married almost 68 years. But anyway, I have a great niece who lives in the Middlebury Center area.
Yeah.
So that was a blessing to have her.
Mm-hmm. She's still there now?
Yes, she is.
What's her name?
Her name is Jana McGowan.
Mm-hmm. Was
Jana Bates.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So if anybody knows her, you're hearing a relative on the radio.
Yeah.
So you came here in 1969, and do you remember when the man landed on the moon? I'm sure you do.
Oh, yes. I can't tell you when, but...
Yeah. And we'll go back a little before that. Did you see the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show?
I did. Ed Sullivan, that was a big show.
Now we got 100 channels on TV and everything else, and people can watch things not live and watch them later. I mean, if you didn't catch something when it was on, you didn't catch it. There was no repeats of that. So when the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show, did you realize what kind of historic event it was at the time?
Probably not. Oh, no.
It was just like anything else. And then
just another group, entertaining.
I mean, because still to this day, people talk about the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Well, Lawrence Welk.
Well, that was, my grandma loved Lawrence Welk Show.
Well, some people like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Were you guys to go to anything around like square dances or attend any church things or what type of social?
Okay, we did square dance for a number of years. It was in one of the schools, and I'm not sure which one it was now. Not the high school, but maybe Charlotte Lapler or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So we did square dance for a number of years. And we did attend church. We attended church at IBC, Independent Bible, which is now Wellsbury Bible. Went then to attending church in Holiday Alliance.
Yeah.
And that's where I still attend.
Still attend. Good for you.
Yes.
Remember coming to the Laurel Festival in those days? We're going back now 1969 was 54 years ago. Things, yeah, I know. We all say that. Go, what?
Yeah.
You mean,
well.
So do you remember the Laurel Festival or town festivals or the circus or any of the things did you come to town for that stuff?
Oh, yes. Always very faithfully to the parades.
Mm-hmm.
And Dickens of Christmas. That was another thing.
Yep. That started a little later on in the time period, but yeah.
Yeah, we always came to the parades.
Wow. Very good. Anything else that you'd like to share? Memories that you'd like to share? People love hearing these things. They're like, oh my gosh, I forgot all about that things.
Yeah, I have nothing jumps to my mind at the moment.
Yep.
But I've enjoyed living here and got back as soon as I could after we left.
Yeah, I grew up in Massachusetts and I chose to live here too.
Yes.
It is a beautiful place, and when people choose to live somewhere, it says a lot about it. Because when you grew up somewhere, it feels like home. It's hard to leave. You know nothing different.
Yeah.
But
just accept
I
it.
sampled the United States, and this Wellsboro won, Tioga County
Absolutely.
won. Yeah,
Amen.
Yes, absolutely. Amen to that. So, looking back at your whole life, are you glad you were born in the time period that you were, or would you rather? Do you think it was better life without having cell phones and TV and all the things when you were born that you didn't have in those earlier years you didn't have? Or
I can answer that one quick question. Yes, it was absolutely much more simple, much more civil, and we didn't have the issues that we have today.
Yep, the good old days really were.
Yes, they were.
The good old days in your...
They weren't all good, but...
Yeah,
the good
polio
outweighed the
existed
bad.
and the World War II was going on when you were a kid and all,
Yes.
but overall, yeah. That's the answer I get from about 9 out of 10 people that I ask that question to on
It's
this
because
program.
it's true.
Mm-hmm. And you've seen where the world's come in the last, since 1930 when you were born, over the last 93 years. Are you worried about the future of this world 50 years down the road, 25 years down the road? Because whatever direction we're going, if we... I don't want to get political, but I'm just asking in general.
I would say that we're in jeopardy as far as the societies go.
Everything is, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, as far as the natural events, I don't know.
Yeah, the world is changing so fast now, and it's so regulated. You know, when if we went back and you told your parents that nowadays you have to have, you know, a building permit to put a porch on your house, and you have to, you know, have your exhaust make sure it only puts out this, and you have to that, and you have to, you know, if you don't have, I mean, even just seatbelts in the back seat, your parents would have thought were crazy.
Oh, gosh, what was a seatbelt? We used to ride our kids in the back of this station wagon, put down the
back
seat.
of the back, yeah.
Yeah.
My dad used to use the term brake check, and he would always laugh. And I don't know if other dads did that, but we would be in the back of the station wagon, and he would lock up the brakes just randomly and watch us all slide to the front and laugh and think it was the funniest thing ever. He'd yell brake check. He just said, I just had to check, make sure the brakes work.
Yeah. Oh, that was, I'd say, probably a tried answer, but it's the good old days.
Yeah. All right. Well, Chuck Bates, you're now Middlebury Center, right? Is where you call home these days.
Yes.
Born in 1930 in Pittsburgh, and spent a little more than half of your life since 1969 permanently here in Wellsboro. And thank you for joining us.
It's a privilege. Thank you.
You've been listening to Saturday with Seniors here on KC 101, brought to you by Eisenhower's Tioga County Harley-Davidson, just south of Mansfield. Eisenhower's Tioga County Harley-Davidson can take care of all your service work. Plus, just stop on by. They want to feel like it's home for you. So if you're on a ride, you just need a place to stretch or hang out on the porch a little bit, you're more than welcome to do so there as well. And if you're looking for a gift for someone who loves Harley-Davidson, you're going to find all types of merchandise in that store that they would love, or gift cards too. Eisenhower's Tioga County Harley-Davidson, thank you for sponsoring us.